afternoon, everyone. I hope you are all good. So, welcome to the today's session on why employee development is a key to retention in 2025. We are thrilled to have you join us this important discussion. We will explore how big businesses and small can invest in their employee to drive long-term success. Before we begin, let's do a quick check-in. Drop in the chat where you are joining from today. And yes, employee retention is one of the biggest challenges businesses face. Companies that invest in employee development see 35% increase in retention rate. So today we will dive into how you can create growth-oriented workplace that keep employee engaged and committed. Now, let's introduce our expert speaker for today, Boikanyo Mazibuko. Boikanyo is a chemical engineer and a Master of Business graduate with over 20 years of experience across industries. She has spent more than a decade in senior leadership and board-level roles, and she's passionate about developing young professionals and driving talent growth in organization. Boikanyo, we are excited to have you here today. Thank you very much for coming with us here. So let us dive right into our discussion, Boikanyo. I will be asking you 5 key questions about employee development and retention. Feel free to share insight and real work examples and practical strategies. What are the biggest challenges business face in retaining employees today?
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul, and good afternoon to everyone. And thanks for that introduction. So I think in my experience, let's start first with where we're finding ourselves, as a global world. Gallup has done a study that shows that employee engagement is at an all-time low. In Sub-Sahara, for instance, we've got an engaged staff of about 20%, and which means 80% of people are not engaged at work, whether it's because they're not finding meaningful work or they're not feeling cared for at work. And then a staggering 75% of people are actually currently saying that they will take an opportunity elsewhere. So with all of that, obviously, you can see that there is challenges in making sure that you keep your employees engaged. And some of the challenges really, in my experience, boils down to people not finding that they've got career growth or opportunities to grow where they're at. And what that means is that especially when a company is growing and a company is stagnating, they feel that there's no way to really go. And if they're not developed, even worse, right? And then critical to that is what I've just said in terms of stats. People are just not engaged at work. So how do you become a productive employee when you are not engaged at work and you're waiting for the next job to come along? And that actually goes hand in hand with financial losses for the companies as well at the same time. So one of the challenges is competition for talent. Good people, we always say good people find jobs. Even in a very, very bad economy, they find jobs. So competition is all stiff for talent. And to give you an example, I receive at least 1 call a month of a recruiter, a headhunter, looking for my skill, looking for my skills for one organization or another, which means people are not really training internally and they are not growing their talent within. And if nobody's doing it, then people are going to start taking from each other, talent and that type of thing. And then the other thing that we also see is recognition. It's a challenge, and reward for what I do, Give me a meaningful job, make sure that I know what my deliverables are, give me feedback, and then also recognize me when I'm doing a good job. And often we find that those things are lacking in a lot of ways. And then I'm not even gonna delve into the technology monster that's just coming, or an opportunity. It can be a monster and it can be an opportunity as well coming. So those are sort of some of the challenges in terms of the environment that we're finding ourselves in.
That's like there's some stories that I could also relate with as myself. I found myself in a position where I'm not being engaged, and it fed boredoms instead of exciting me. So you ask yourself, why am I still doing here? And there is no hope that maybe I might find myself in management position it later or whatsoever. There is no growth structure to say, okay, if you are passionate with this, these are the channels. This is what we can help you to get yourself to there. So yeah, most of us as youth, we tend to get bored, and yeah, we leave. Most of the time, it's not about the pay, because I remember sometimes I had to leave a very paying job for a less paying job, but because in that less paying job there was more engagement and was more of people type of environment. So the environment, the culture was also
Yeah,
fantastic. So
yeah,
yeah, it
yeah.
was not the culture where I felt like, yo, every day when you come back home, you ask yourself, what
What
am
am
I
I
still
doing?
doing
And
there?
to add to that, I mean, it's quite sad that organizations are not waking up to this, because a bored workforce or a disengaged workforce means that you're not going to have productivity, and people don't want to be kept busy for the sake of getting being
Being
kept
busy.
busy. They want to be busy with meaningful work where they can see that they are making a difference, and they are actually, their work is actually being recognized for that. They feel like they are also, they're contributing at the end of the day. So it has to be meaningful. So if you're bored, you're obviously going to look for something else that's going to challenge you and grow you, because if you're bored, you're not growing. So that means you're dying, in terms of that as well.
Also, with my goals, we were not aligning in a sense of serving. I'm a server, so I was totally doing the opposite. I was robbing the people that I was supposed to be serving. So it didn't feel
Absolutely.
well also as a human being to say, but I'm here to serve. I am a server, so to me I'm so I can help. So the impact that I
Absolutely.
would receive is not the impact that I would say I would want to leave my name on it. So with that said, there's a recent study found that 65% of employees are actively looking for a new job due to lack of career growth. How do you think business can better address this?
Well, I think it's actually not as difficult as most businesses think. It is at the end of the day, because you just have to look at yourself. You're employing people. What is it that resonates with you when you are the one that is the employer at the end of the day? So it starts there, right? So whatever is of importance to you is definitely important for the next person, right? If and some of the things that I can just briefly share in my experience. I worked for a company. I won't mention the name. At a senior level,
Company X.
and
Mm.
yeah, at a senior level. And when I arrived there, people were not developed at all. There were no programs or anything like that. And one of the things that we saw was that we had one of the higher turnover, in terms of employees. At the level just before middle management, we saw that the turnover in those specialist skills, so as to speak, right? So I was given this task to say, come and help. It wasn't even given to HR. It was given to a chemical engineer to say, go try and figure out what's going on here. And we also saw that the gap between our managers and those that they were managing was also quite high. So in terms of just being able to, so you are a specialist, you're doing a good job, and then we then promote you, right? We don't give you the skill for the next job. right? We just promote you
Yes.
because you were so good at
Adequate
being a
training.
specialist, right? So we do that. So what we did was that we analyzed the skills gap. We first of all we had to check what is it that we're requiring out of these managers to do, because people are actually, they saying in organizations people leave managers, they don't leave organizations. So we had to check first of all what is the skill, what is the disconnect, what is the skills gap. And then we came up with a bespoke program for those managers, right? And I must say, you know, those statistics that you were talking about earlier on, 35%, we actually saw a 50% retention in our specialized skills staying with us just because they were managed better. And what was the key? We just developed the managers that were managing them, right? So it is key to really retaining that. And at the end of the day, they managed to actually also lead the people in such a way that they become more productive, so less boredom. So it's just a snowball effect that it actually gives you more. And then you know what we also saw? We also saw people, we used to call it people bringing their hearts and minds to work. We saw people being so engaged that they wanted to be there, you know, because they felt that, oh, the managers are being developed, I can also be developed as well, because those managers were then looking down to see how they can develop their own people. So it's a snowball effect at the end of the day, and it's a win-win for everyone.
Thank you, thank you very much. It's also very important also in terms of accurate skills because of for example, in one situation I found myself was you doing great doing sales. They promote you to a team leader now, and now you get into a new role, like asking yourself now my role is not to make sure that I reach my sales target, but now I'm also reliable for everyone's target. Now I must push everyone, and I'm used to pushing myself. So now I don't even know how to push different personalities because of you find different personalities in the team.
Mm,
Now, how do
mm,
you run those people to make sure that you bring your deliverables in time? So yes, proper
absolutely.
training is also needed because of if we had that, then it makes me a better manager because of now I don't know what I don't know.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, you say that as well. I think the other thing, I often hear people talking about compensation, you know, money. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, Studies show over and over again when we do these cultural surveys in corporates that I've worked in, right? It actually rates probably thereabout in I don't know, sixth position in terms of the top things that make people stay with an organization. I'm not saying people shouldn't be getting paid equitably for what the job that they produce or the job that they do, but in the main, people will leave a job to go to another job. Like you said earlier on, you've left the job for a lower paying salary or for a higher paying salary. And when they get to the other side, they realize that, okay, money is not everything. Money doesn't,
Yeah.
that money only keeps you happy. And I've seen this over and over again. Whenever I've had people that have left or wanting to leave an employment because they feel that they're not being paid high enough. I've seen over and over again where people say, I actually want to come back, right? And we've had those situations where people actually come back to work because they had gone for a higher salary and they realized that it's not it. It happened to me in my area career. You know, I was working for a very, very good company from a development point of view and all that. And I thought, oof, I've just had a baby. I need more money. And I left. And 2 months into that job, I felt, yo, the money was there, but I was not engaged. I was not feeling
Different.
like I'm going anywhere in my career. And I thought, what have I done? Yeah. I often call it my U-turn in my career, because I had to then take stock of what really is important to me.
Wow. Also understanding yourself and knowing your values. Do they align with the company culture, align with company goals? It's also important
Absolutely.
because if you find yourself frustrated, but my life is taking me this direction and this company is taking me the other direction. So he always encourage people to do career counseling and understand their values
Yeah.
as well. So, man, so do you think any challenges across industry, are there common factors affecting retention everywhere?
Yeah, so I mean, as you see, I have had a vast work across multiple industries, and I can tell you there are companies that do it very well out there, and the biggest common thread that I've seen in my career, it's the problem that I've said over and over again, this engagement. And engagement is really boils down to communication, right? I've yet to see a company that really says my communication is on point, right? And communication is a two-way thing. It's not just down, 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 down. It's a two-way thing. People want to know I'm working for a purpose. I'm making, and even in the younger generation, I see it with my kids as well here, a 23-year-old and an 18-year-old. They want to know what is the bigger purpose for this, right? And all those kind of good things. They're not driven by rents and cents at the end of the day, but they want to be contributing to something that makes for a there's a purpose and a purpose behind it. Not just these vision statements that we have in companies that are flimsy and nobody really believes in them. They're just on the board. But something that really resonates in terms of how are we taking humanity forward, so the common thread that I've seen, it's this thing called engagement. But engagement, as I say to you, the basics of it all is communication. Get your communication strategy right. Make sure that people are being kept abreast of what is happening in the organization, where their jobs fit with whatever the organization is trying to achieve at the end of the day. So it's a common thread, this communication thing, I would say.
Entrepreneurs, I hope you are taking notes. This is where we take notes. Yeah, we must make sure, because of training people is also expensive. It takes a
Yeah.
lot of time for the business. So retention, if there is a way to retain them, simple as communication. Yeah, so let's take notes. Let us action that. So now the second question would be, how do investing in employee development impact overall retention rate?
Yeah, I think we sort of touched on that earlier on around, the example that I gave about this organization YZ, where we implemented a bespoke program after having analyzed the thing. And we saw really a 50% retention. And we also saw a culture that was also improving overall in the organization, right? So because there was that communication feedback loop that came from middle management to talk to senior management to say what is not working, right? At the end of the day, because they then had the skills in terms of how they're supposed to do this, right? So without a doubt, right, it really does impact, because I just think that when people feel that they're being vested in, you get that I don't want to call it loyalty, because there isn't really that anymore, really. But people feel like they are belonging. They feel like they are part of something, that is big and bigger themselves and all those kind of. And then they give you, as I say, that discretionary time. People will actually come in with inventive ideas in terms of how to do certain things and what have you. And they'll do certain things before you even ask them to do them and all those kind of good things, because they put their hands up, because they know that they are being vested in. So somebody cares, at the end of the day. And it goes back to the topical thing that came out with the, COVID around well-being at work, mental well-being and all sorts of other well-being and whatever. We've been investing in employee wellness for God knows how long with all the programs. They don't work. We know they don't work because it just ends with that program and it doesn't come to work, right? It doesn't change the way managers do their things and the way leaders do their thing. So at the end of the day, I think I go back to what I said earlier on. Start with you. You are the employer. What would you like to see happen for you? And that's the same thing that you like to see happen for your employees. It's no lesser.
Thank you very much. It must start with us employers. Thank you very much, Boikanyo. So what type of development initiative, training, mentorship, career growth have the highest impact?
Oh yeah, that is a I'm gonna take an economist sort of a way around this one, right? It really does depend, right? Human beings are unique. You can't just say what works for one person. If you know mentorship works for the other person, will work for the next person, right? And it also depends on what gap are you trying to fill or what skill are you trying to develop for, right? We can't put everybody in a classroom because that's what we think is supposed to be the thing that happens. It works for some people. Some people projects work better for their development than other people. So it really depends on who the individual is, what are you developing for, and what is it that you want to see as the outcome at the end of the day. So different things will work for different people for highest impact. So it can be that you see it even in school, right? Some kids do well with listening to a teacher. Some kids do very well in doing as they learning, right? So job training or whatever the case might be, they do well as so we are just like that as human beings as well. There's no one size fits all, right? So you need to know your people, and to know your people, you need to engage them. And to engage them is to also to know your business well enough to know what skills you're trying to train for. And I'm going to give you an example here, right? I had one of these highly paid recruiter phoning me the other day, and they were looking for a specific individual. And I'm like, okay, you're starting it wrong. Let's start with looking at the skill. What skills are you really, what skills is the government, it's a company looking for? And they were battling to explain that to me. I said, okay, I know the CEO. I'll give them a call and say, what skills are you looking for? We had a very good conversation. I asked him questions. We engaged. And I said to him, but you know the skill, you won't find it in Africa, right? You guys in corporate are not training for this skill. None of you in all the industries that I've worked in, none of you are training for this skill. So you are asking them to do a task that is actually never going to be achieved, right? So I think it really does depend. What skills are you requiring in organization? And not skills just for today, really, remember, skills for tomorrow as well, right? What skills do you need for tomorrow as well? I mean, I just read a very interesting piece from Harvard Review just the other day about a generation ago. You must see how quickly things move. A generation ago, whatever skills you had, you could actually do with that skill. It could last you for about 26 years. Today, your skills are good enough for less than 5 years. 5 years, you need to be reskilling yourself. That's how quick things are moving, because we've got technology coming on, whether it's artificial intelligence, augmented reality, all those things that are coming, and you see what's happening right now in terms of the race for who's going to win this battle, and a lot of money going into these things to develop them, right? So we need people that are going to be upskilled, differently skilled, creative, innovative, critical thinkers. That's what we're going to need, because machines will definitely, I mean, people sometimes think about this thing as something that's yet to come. It is here. You go to certain airports in the world, you don't see a single person to take you through all of that. You are virtually just, using your own thing to communicate with a machine. You've got booms that are, in terms of what they were trying to do here in South Africa, taking your money before you don't even interact with anybody. So it's not something that is still coming. Go look at the supermarkets. We used to have at a point in time, you had that tiller thing where somebody used to, there are places now where somebody just pulls the product through the machine, and it just already says what the prices of the thing is and whatever. So there are places that are already testing, doing that without human beings in it, right? So it's not coming, it's here. So you need to understand your business enough to know where's your business today, where's the business needs to be going tomorrow. And then look at the skills, and then look at how then you best suited to actually upskill your people or reskill your people accordingly, or yourself for that matter, right?
Wow, Boikanyo, your insights, like you just like boom my mind thinking about the Terminators, like well, we used to think it's in the future, and then now we are in the future, and everything it's automated. I mean, you're talking about how we are meeting today. We are meeting through a Zoom.
Absolutely.
It's showing that the 4IR it's here. It's no longer coming like the World Cup 2010. It was coming until it
No,
left.
no, no. It's yeah.
Yeah. So my next question will be, how can small businesses with limited budget like me prioritize employing growth?
Yeah, so let's start with understanding what skills you're trying to develop for, right? And often I think entrepreneurs we go back to the money story and what have you. And but before I go into that question, answering that question, I also want to talk about appointing for attitude and training for skills, right? Because that is a big one. You know, you need to understand that. You know, you can't, it's very difficult to change people's attitudes and that type of thing, right? So look for that rather than looking for experience and that type of thing. Look for skills. Look for, sorry, for attitude. And it's actually more cost effective to do it that way rather than going and finding somebody that somebody has already trained with all the good and the bad and the otherwise, you know, that comes with that. And for me, I think utilizing networks, we having this conversation today. There's a sharing of information that's happening. There's a lot of education that people don't need to reinvent the wheel in understanding. Use the networks, you know, and be able to reach out to people. You'll be surprised how many people want to actually contribute or give back in one way or another. So use those internet networks. And my favorite one is this leaning on big business, right? So big business have got a lot of budgets, guys, lot of budgets, right? For skills development, for doing business with SMMEs, but they don't know how. So we need to find a way to link the money and the people that need it. So that is the secret sauce. We need to do that because the money is there to help you to actually grow your business. If you just know who you need to tag to and all those kind of things. I was speaking to somebody the other day. He's in the hospitality industry, and he was saying to me, geez, you know, if you get somebody that wants to be mentored in this space that I'm in, I will be happy to just do that, right? So it's those linkages that we need to make as well. And he says, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to give an hour of my time to just give back. And that wouldn't cost you much. As long as you know what skills are you trying and what questions will you go and ask if you're being given that opportunity to be in the midst of those kind of people. And then the other thing, I mean, it's the platforms, LinkedIn. I was so surprised the other day, somebody was sharing with me that Spa on their online shopping platform, you don't even have to shop, right? They've got a myriad of free courses that you can do on there, like a myriad. So use those. And you know what we saw as well happening, Mpo? During COVID, our company at the time where I was working was one of the essential service providers. So we didn't get locked down really. But we felt that quite a few of our people were sitting at home stagnating because the volume wasn't, in certain aspects, in our medical business, for instance, the volume was a lot. But we offered everybody an opportunity to take some time to just go and look at, we actually had HR look at all the courses that were available on various platforms. And we said, you are given an hour to actually, or whatever time that you need to actually go in there and learn a skill of one sort or another, that when you come back, you'll be able to give back to the company with whatever the case might be. So allowing that platform, you need to also make your organization a learning organization, right? Because if you're not learning, nobody in the organization is going to take this learning thing very seriously. I can tell you that much, right? So we need to also make sure that our organizations are allowing the space for people to feel that they can learn, right? What does that mean exactly? And you know, it's about making sure that people can be given a job, a little bit of a responsibility in something, to learn a certain skill, whether it's like somebody that battles with communication, right? You can give them another job to answer phones and watch that and watch what happens in terms of that interaction, right? And be able to coach for that interaction, right? So it's about those things at the end of the day. Give yourself time. In business, we can get very, very busy with we need to get going and not look out the window, which a lot of organizations try. So make space and time for that. To make sure that people are looking after out the window. So there's a lot of money. I just think that it's not matching the money with where the requirement is, because people then throw it in all sorts of nonsense. That again, remember I told you earlier on that recruiters are very busy. And why are they busy? Because companies are not developing their talent from within. That's why there is a business to recruit, right? So with that in mind, you need to make sure that you, first of all, show that you care for your people by developing them and making sure that they see that there is a progression of some sort in the organization, right? And then you can almost take it from there. But there is a lot of freebies, guys, a lot of freebies out there.
There is a lot of freebie. We just have to go search.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
search. We'll find them. I don't want to give it up. Ne? Let's not give it up.
Yeah. No.
Let's go search. There
Yeah.
is initiatives that are also supporting SMEs, ECD or CSD. So go search. There are that. So thanks, Boikanyo. I mean, your insights also opens my mind as well. So now, like, I would want to understand how can a small business with limited budget still prioritize employee growth?
Oh yeah. So I mean, like as I said, you also have to make time. That's really the time factor that you're investing in time as well. So you have to make that time for people. And then there's another thing that I just remembered now. Around also we don't want to end up spoon feeding our people, right? My career developed to where it developed because earlier on in my career, attitude. Earlier on in my career, I knew that I wanted to take my career places, right? But it also had to start with the environment where I was at, where it allowed for learning, right? I worked for Unilever earlier on in my career, and it allowed for a lot of learning, right? It was project based, and they will give you the responsibility and all those kind of things. So I just knew that, and I would self-reflect on, oh, okay, that I didn't do so well because I don't think I know this very well. As somebody, figure out whether it's something that I have to learn from a course or whatever the case might be. So we also don't want to do that. We don't want people feeling like, their development is the responsibility of the company. Allow the space, give them opportunities, but you mustn't get into that thing. Because I've also heard young people, when I've done my mentorship programs with young people and say, my career is not getting anywhere. And I'm like, okay, what responsibility have you taken in making sure that you develop your career? It's nobody's responsibility but yours to make sure that your career is also flourishing, right? So that's the other thing that we need to be also mindful on. We create an environment, we create the platforms, but it's up to people to take them up and show that they've got the hunger, to do more, to become more, and all this kind. And you're gonna find people that just don't want to do more, right? they just don't want to do more.
Exactly. I mean, when you said we must not hire we must hire for attitude, not for skill, because of there will be people who have great skills, but their attitude it's not gonna work. It's just gonna be time consuming, and in time consuming, we mean their money that they, yeah, what are the biggest resources as a company or a small business that you need to take care of? So we must look for attitude, people who are willing to learn,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
stewardship, not people
Absolutely.
who know it all, because of those
Yeah,
ones that are unteachable. Even if you can take them anywhere, there is nothing you can do for them. So
yeah,
it makes sense also that it's about attitude, how they present themselves as well. Do they have the willingness of helping? Because of you find some of them saying, "But my job description is this." Then what happened if your job description is no longer needed?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a very, it's a very dangerous, slippery slope, that one. When somebody throws a job description at my face, I just know that, I've taken to grow in my career. I've taken extra duties. And I can
Exactly.
tell you what the extra duty was. The extra duty, because I wanted to have exposure to board meetings and to
Oh,
board.
yes.
I was taking minutes in a board meeting. I put my hand up and I said, I think I want to know what you guys are doing in a board. And they said, but we can't just give you time just for the sake of time to come and sit there. You're supposed to be doing your job of designing stuff, right? I said, okay, can I come and take minutes for you guys? And they said, oh, wow, okay, that's great because you understand the terminology. Therefore, because we struggle with the secretaries because they don't understand the terminology and the project language. And when we talk about all of these things in engineering, you'll be useful. And then from there, I started really getting, when I was given the platform, I used it to the maximum, right? And I said, I want more. I want to know. Just give me that role. That you need this activity done, which is maybe signing a document. It might sound odd at this point, but it needs to go to another office of another shareholder in Santen. I said, I'll drive and I'll go get it signed for you and all those kind of good things. So so that's why I'm saying attitude. You're very, very important. Very important.
Thank you, Boikanyo. So now the last question, so I'll ask you today before I let you go. I know you're a very busy woman. So what trends in employee development should company focus on this year, 2025?
So that's a very interesting question right there, right? Because when we look in terms of where we've been and where we're going, yeah. I told you earlier on about people are individuals. So what we're also seeing is that learning is becoming more and more individualized, right? Rather than catch all, right? And that is because one of the things that we see is that, and you might have had this experience, when people leave institutions of higher learning because they've been given a global education, there is a gap between that and reaching and being able to be productive, almost immediately in a work environment. So we need to start really thinking about individualized, because I said to you, people learn differently. People are need different requirements, people need different skills and that type of thing. So individualized training and bespoke training is going to become key and critical as we go forward, right? And then, things like technology, we spoke about it. They are also forcing us to look at how we can upskill and reuse people and talent differently and all those kind of good things. And what that means is that I've seen in certain aspects that people no longer have somebody taking minutes in a meeting. It's just recorded and transcribed, and that's the story. We just need to finesse how that transcribing comes out with the right kind of things and all those kind of things. So you see that happening as well. I do this often with my financial advisor. There's just me and him, and he's got minutes and he sends them to me immediately, So those kind of things, we need to reskill and upskill. And in a country like ours, it becomes even more critical because we've got so many unemployed youth. And then I talked about the skills, some of the skills that we're going to need: creativity and critical thinking. In terms of how we can solve some of our problems. We've got water problems in our country. We've got infrastructure problems. We've got a whole lot of issues in our country, and we need creative minds to come and solve those problems for us, right? And then, in terms of how you skill people as well, we've got artificial intelligence that's coming in. So ChatGPT and all those kind of good things. Universities are having a hard time now figuring out, how do we make sure the work is the people's work and all those kind of good things, yeah? So, those kind of things are now coming in and forcing people to think differently. We were in a world where we were forced to think differently with COVID around how we can get education to people. And seemingly, we didn't learn our lessons. We just went right back, right? We want them back in the classroom. We want them back at work, or whatever the case might be, right? So that is more and more. I don't think we need another pandemic or another big boom for us to realize that the world is shifting, and there's big transformations happening globally. And then those things can help in terms of tools like augmented learning, using augmented reality to learn, things like gaming that helps people to learn faster, something by playing a game, make those games be useful rather than, just people playing games for the sake of playing games. And then diversified teams. And why this diversity thing is a big thing. And I see now Trump is saying, nonsense. He's just missing the point. People learn from people, right? That's one of the quickest way to learn, is from chatting to people, and then you become aware that, oh, okay, there's this that I wasn't aware of, and all those kind of good things. So diversified people come with diverse type of point of views, and that in itself helps in the learning. And that's a trend that will be continuously ongoing. And I'm not just talking about gender here and color. I'm talking about think. I'm talking about different think. The banks got this right a couple of years ago, in fact, where they started employing non-bankers, to come and bring creativity. They employed doctors. They employed the Invest Bank of the world. They employed engineers. They employed architects to come and work in a banking environment. Somebody will look at that and say, what was that? So they were a little bit ahead of their time. But that is the different kind of think that you need to create this, the environment that is creative and all those kind of things. And then, I think more and more it's going to be important to make individualized training, mean that people need to even take more responsibility for their learning, right? So that even becomes an environment where we need to be creating to make sure that that is happening, because that is a trend that's going to continue. You're not going to be able to know what to train for if your people are also not taking responsibility for the skills that they're battling with and all those kind of good things. So and using platforms, it's going to be platforms, meaning collaboration, where people can learn from other people and all those kind of. That's a trend that is also seemingly going to be carrying through in 2025 and probably beyond, right? Because people say we are whilst competition, which is a capitalistic view of the world, it's still a thing. We also understand about collaboration as a competitive advantage, if you know how to use that, right? So those are the things that we need to be looking out for, among a few others, but those are the ones that I thought I should just highlight.
Thank you, Boikanyo. I mean, so much. I'm trying to get my hand in it, in a sense, when you spoke earlier about that companies now, they should start building their own, instead of looking for recruitment to start job searching for the people that they're looking for, because they themselves, they have not invested in them to skill them, because of they are also unskilled. So I'm asking ourselves for now, the world is changing drastically fast, and then interest is changes as well. I mean, like now, the organization didn't take us seriously because we were working online. We have no physical mortar, so it was very hard for them to say, but who are you? And then you're saying we work online, and then, so if anything happen, how do I? I'm saying everything is online. We are working online. Yes, everything we do, we meet here, we do everything here. Your work, everything is just online. You have Google Workspace, you have Microsoft Workspace, so we don't have to see each other for us to get things done, but we can do it while you are sitting at your house. So also our busy check assessing for Alan Graham. Now when we see the assessment, the chat GPT, hey, yeah, the kids, when you talk about university, I'm like, yes, all those. I'm asking myself now, and I'm assessing for evidence, and then now I already know whatever that this person wrote here on the chat GPT is not the truth now, but and now I must say yes to the program that could have been to somebody who really mean that.
Mm-hmm.
And you spoke about attitude. So yeah, technology also can be positive and negative in their work environment because some people don't use it to its like you said yourself, like when the notes at the meeting, the minutes come in, you have to finesse them. No, you just said it like that. Yeah. So thank you very much, Boikanyo, for your time. So I just want to check with our audience if they have any question in Q&A. Matsidi or Tato, please, Tato, let's check what are questions, the floor, what is the floor happening? If there's any questions.
No, we don't have any questions. We just had comments.
Oh, well, I
Okay.
see there's a question on education. Sia, yeah, I don't want that job. I don't want to be the Minister of Education. It's job.
No. It's a question in that if we restructure our educational system, uh, will it have a positive impact, and how will that have a positive impact in restructuring our educational system?
Absolutely. I mean, my 2 cents is this on that one, right? I think South Africa is so far behind in terms of how we do this education thing, right? I've told you about the world that is fast-paced, changing, challenged by different things and all those kind of good things, different think and all that. Sometimes it's a reflection of our leaders in terms of not being able to be forward thinking, let alone, thinking about now. If me and you had a similar education that our kids are getting right now, if our kids are getting the similar education, almost similar to what we had, I don't know, however many years ago, without giving away anybody's age, do you really think that has caught up with what is about to hit us, right? Or that what is hitting us right now? It's not. So it's just for me, it's just common sense. We need to do this thing differently. We cannot. And the problem becomes, as I say, from the top, lack of visionary thinking around these things. What skills do we need for the country? I told you about the gap. I was even talking about university and work. I see them coming out. I know myself when I went to work, to the world of work, I was so ill prepared for work. As an engineer at the time, I was so ill prepared for it, right? So if that was the case, a few decades ago, and we're still going about it the same way, something is wrong. That is just the way that I see it. And I think it can only be good for the kids. I look at my kids now in the courses that or the degrees that they've chosen and all those kind of things. And they're more or less learning the same as, the previous people that were in those roles. And the challenges for our country are so bigger and more complex, right? So they need to be solving for really, really complex issues. I mean, they're in the health sector. They've decided to go into the health sector. You know yourself about our hospitals that are not working. So all those things are a result of a leadership that is not thinking differently about how to solve the problem, right? They say, I think this was from something that was said by Einstein, you do the same thing expecting different results, then you are crazy, then you are cuckoos, you're not. So we are going to continue getting the results we're getting right now in this country, or I don't know, elsewhere, I don't know. I mean, I've been to other countries like Nigeria and Kenya and all those kind of things. And I'm talking specifically about our continent. We are not changing and challenging ourselves to get out of the rut of what we inherited, right? So definitely, most certainly, without a doubt.
We have another question from Batandwa. She's asking, how can companies ensure that their employee development programs employee development programs aligns with employee career goals?
Oh, yeah, no, that is very, very important, right? And it's a key to this the development thing. That's why I say development for the sake of developing is just crazy because it doesn't give you any results. So I'll give you an example with me, right? And it starts first with the conversation, right? We have those beautiful things in companies where people give, if you do have them, if you don't, please implement. It doesn't have to be very complicated, where you give feedback on my expectation, and I give you also my expectation and where I want to go and all those kind of things. And sometimes it's okay for your goals to do this, because then you know you're not in the right place, right? Or they also know that you're not in the right place, right? You might be very good at what you're doing currently, but your aspirations is elsewhere, right? Or to do other things that they're not able to meet, or whatever the case may be. Or I left the company, to give you an example as well, Tato, on the question that Batandwa has just posted, where I didn't engage back, to tell the organization what my career aspirations were, and I left. And in my exit interview, I was asked, what is the story? Then I talked about this career story and what even. It says, but who have you engaged? And I had not engaged anybody. So therefore, there was no alignment, right? So it starts with making sure that there is that conversation and you know where the individual wants to go. Sometimes the conversation, I've had a mentee that I was mentoring, and she was so stuck on saying that she wants to go take a career this way, right? And in the work that we did, I actually matched her up with a few other people with her outside the organization to talk to and understand whether this is really what she wants, because sometimes a job on a piece of paper is not really what it becomes when you're doing it, right? So you need to also be mindful of that. And that's why Caroline Wanga, I like following her. She just gets the stuff, experience, skills, rather than jobs and job roles and job definitions and all those kind of good things. So I think that it really starts with being honest with yourself. Sometimes you're not sure. Sometimes you think you've worked it out, but sometimes just being in the exposure, being exposed might be able to actually guide you in that roadmap, in terms of being able to say, yeah, this is the roadmap for me, and I'm cool with that. And it's okay to change your mind. It doesn't have to be cast in stone. It's okay to change your mind. But first, it has to start with that conversation. There has to be a conversation. There's no alignment without anybody not talking to anybody.
Tato, all finished? Can I close? Fantastic. Thank you, Boikanyo, for this discussion today. Wow, we have learned so much. So, to you, the audience, the key takeaway from today's session: employee development is a retention game changer. Mentorship, training, and career growth boost engagement and reduce turnover. Even small business can implement cost-effective development strategies. 2025 will about aligning employee growth with evolving workplace needed. A huge thanks to you, Boikanyo, for sharing her expertise, and all of you from joining us today. Before we go, drop in the chat what action you would take from today's session. Thank you, everybody. Till next time we meet again. Stay in, tune in on our LinkedIn. The recording will be set there. Keep the question coming back. We will find Boikanyo to answer those questions. Don't worry. Thank you very
Sure,
much.
no problem. Thank you very much, everybody. Oh, there's something popped in there. I don't know if you want to close and Paul. You want me to take this one?
Yeah, you can take this one and we're closing. So everyone, for me, bye. See you next time. I know Matsidiso will communicate when and how, but I know we are coming back again with another speaker.
Oh yeah, no, sure.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, so maybe let's just take that one and then I'll close off. So what I've seen in my career is that and I'll give only the ones that I know of, right? There are companies like I'll talk mainly about because I've been exposed to corporate companies like Unilever. They do it very, very well in terms of, and so much so that people come back, and in fact, you also hear it from their competitor, like not really a direct competitor, but Coca-Cola. They'll tell you that we hunt skills from Unilever because we know they do it very well. They've got their programs button on. And it's very difficult to become un-Unilever once. And you talk about retention. I mean, I battle to buy other people's products because I am immersed. So they actually benefit from me years afterwards as well, right? So I sell their products over and over again. So they benefit in other ways as well. So in terms of people leaving after being developed, it's for me, it's twofold, right? It's first of all, not developing for what you need, because people then, if they're being developed just for being developed, then they're gonna find other opportunities where they can use their skills.
At an unexpected meeting.
So that's what they're gonna do, right? And then sometimes is because that alignment never happened. I want to do an MBA, for instance, and the company just wants to retain me because right now I'm a very, very key employee. I do my MBA, and after that, I feel like, okay, where do I use this MBA? Where do I use it? And there's no place to use it, right? So sometimes you are investing in the wrong place, and sometimes companies really do invest to just get the brownie points, BEE, God knows what not, in terms of our country. Some of these things are used wrong, and they develop for the sake of developing. And after that, they frustrate the hell out of people, and people want to leave at the end of the day, right? But in my experience, I have yet to leave a company that really, really invested heavily in me and showed me my career path with that development, right? I just think that it's not you develop and it ends there. You have to show that you have intent with the employee. Hope that answers that.
Thank you. Any other questions before I close? Seems like you're throwing them. Hey, okay, I think that was the last one. Thank you very much, everyone. Let's keep other questions for next time. Thank you.
All right,
On our
yeah.
LinkedIn. Ask her on the LinkedIn, she will respond. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Have a
Thanks,
lovely
guys.
afternoon.
Bye now.
Thank you.